Hi everyone, welcome to Studio Jake. I of course am your host Jacob Airy. Thank you so much for joining me today. So I have a little bit of house cleaning to do. First of all, I'm going to apologize because today is garbage day, the week around where I record, so you might hear some thuds or some drops or some crashes, but have no fear. It's just the garbage men doing their duty because heavens no, I used to be a custodian and a janitor. I used to haul garbage. I don't like doing that, so I'm glad there are people that Los Angeles is paying to actually take care of this. But anyway, the second bit of house cleaning is I was totally wrong about the Oscars. I'm man enough to admit it. I didn't foresee certain things that happened, but we're going to talk about it nonetheless. So be sure to like this video, subscribe to my YouTube channel, also like this on Facebook if you're listening on Facebook, and be sure to follow the Facebook page and turn on notifications for both Facebook so you get notifications when I drop a new podcast, and on YouTube because it's doing this weird thing with your subscription feed where it's curating them instead of putting them in chronological order, so you may not see it right off the bat. So, without further ado, sit back, relax, and welcome to Studio Jake. I'm just going to get right into this. I was way off for some of my predictions. I mean, I was not for some of them, for most of them, and I'm man enough to admit it. I totally dropped the ball on my Oscar prediction because I thought they were going to go one way and they completely went a totally different direction. Before I get into that, I did watch the Oscars last night. I didn't get to catch all of it because I was in and out, and I was watching a couple of people who were streaming it and things like that, so I didn't get the whole big thing. I will say I was very impressed. While I did play Steven Crowder's Oscars drinking game for what they said, and there were a few times when you had to take a lot of sips, but to my surprise, it actually wasn't as woke as I was expecting, especially compared to the last 3 years, where it was just a disaster. They did have a few people take pot shots at, us peasants for, liking things a certain way. Probably Brad Pitt, Jane Fonda, and Joaquin Phoenix had the three worst speeches of the night. They were super woke, and it was kind of silly, especially Joaquin Phoenix. He just went on and on and on and on about nonsense, about stuff that didn't even matter whenever he won his award, and I'll have more about that in a little bit. Brad Pitt won for Best Supporting Actor. That's not one that I predicted. It wasn't in my list of the 5 categories that I talked about. And he went on and he took a pot shot about the Senate not calling John Bolton for during the Trump impeachment hearings, which is kind of weird because the House didn't call John Bolton. I think he said that if he got a subpoena, he would fight it in the court, but if the court ruled against him, he would go and testify. And of course, he's right. John Bolton is, of course, writing a tell-all book because that's what all of these politicians do when they're bored with life. They just write a tell-all book, and if it's a Republican attacking a Republican, the media go nuts about it. So I don't know what point he was trying to make with that. And Jane Fonda, they had her present for Best Picture, and you can tell this is just a slap in the face to middle America. No one frickin' likes Jane Fonda unless you live in LA, New York, Washington, D.C., or San Francisco. Those are the only 4 places where she might get her own table at a restaurant. No one else likes this woman, but they keep giving her roles, they keep propping her up. Everyone knows she did the wrong thing during the Vietnam War. That's how she got the nickname Hanoi Jane. And now she's doing this stunts where she flies to DC once a week and she gets herself arrested. I think they should arrest her for what she did in Vietnam. I think she should be put on trial for that. I mean, that was obviously consorting with the enemy, allegedly. But anyway, I don't know why they keep propping this woman up. No one likes her. She's a total hypocrite. She's a total grandstander. And I think it's just silly that they gave her airtime over something so ridiculous. There was another conservative, and I'm not going to name him because I don't want to come off like I'm attacking him, but he tweeted out that the Oscars still matter. No, the Oscars don't matter. They used to matter. They used to be important to the American culture, but even tonight with kind of the surprises that happened, I don't really think the Oscars matter that much anymore. I think that it's just a way for Hollywood to pat itself on the back and give wine to all of their buddies. And I think that that's all there is to it. I don't think that it's important. I don't think it's anything but Hollywood self-aggrandizing itself and shoving it in the faces of the peasants that, hey, look, we're important because we make movies. That's all it is. It's not important, but it is fun to dive into it and laugh at the frivolity of the whole thing. On to my Oscar predictions and all the ones I got wrong. So, Best Actress. I predicted that Cynthia Erivo was going to win for her role of Harriet Tubman in the film Harriet, because the Oscar likes historical films. They like films about, strong women, and Harriet Tubman's story is definitely that, no question. I haven't seen Harriet, but I did hear that the movie was pretty good. I heard Mrs. Enrivo did a really good job with it, so hats off to her. I predicted that she was going to win for those factors. My dark horse was, I can't ever pronounce her name right, but Saoirse Ronan, I'm just going to call her Mrs. Ronan. She was my dark horse pick for Little Women, because all these Hollywood media outlets, they were talking about how important the film was and how it was a watershed moment and it was a modern take on a classic tale and all that lazy writing that they like to pull out every time there's a female-centric film these days. Those were my two picks. I didn't really see anyone else getting it. Lo and behold, I was wrong. Renee Zellweger actually won for her biopic Judy, about Judy Garland. Now, this one kind of surprised me because no one saw this movie. I mean, there was no buzz about it. I barely saw any reviews about it. A few cursory ones I saw, like from the Hollywood Reporter and whatnot. But this was not like a popular film. It wasn't popular with audiences as far as I know. I mean, in a way that it generated buzz. I'm not saying there weren't people who didn't like the movie. I'm just saying it didn't generate any buzz. So that really surprised me, especially because, like I said, the Academy tends to lean toward other pictures, and I was really, really surprised by this because, like I said, it generated no buzz. I didn't really see a big marketing push to get it for Renee Zellweger to get it for Judy Garland. Or for Judy. So I'm a little shocked by this, surprised. Like, I haven't seen Judy, so I can't really say if it was a good movie or a bad movie, but but it just really surprised me. To me, the one who should have won was Scarlett Johansson. Now, she was nominated for Marriage Story, but she should have won for her role in Avengers Endgame and Jojo Rabbit. And now, Jojo Rabbit, she was nominated for Best Supporting Actress, and that went to Laura Dern. That was so stupid. Laura Dern doesn't deserve any awards this season, much less an Academy Award. Scarlett Johansson should have won for that reason. She should have really been the best actress in my opinion. But yeah, I was way off the mark on this. I thought that, like I said, Cynthia Erivo was going to take home the Oscar. I really did. It was in my heart of hearts. I thought that. So congratulations to Renee Zellweger. We haven't really seen a lot from her recently, but hats off to her for winning for Judy. I'm sure it was a good film. I'm not really sure. Again, I haven't talked to anyone who has seen it. Like, at least with Harriet and Little Women, I kind of have an idea of what the reception was because I've talked to people who have seen the films and they've said, oh, it was good or it wasn't, but nothing, no buzz whatsoever. But once again, congratulations, Renee Zellweger. Apologies to Scarlett Johansson. You definitely deserved this award. For Best Actor, I predicted that Adam Driver was going to win for Marriage Story. Now, Adam Driver is a fantastic actor. I've seen him in other things. I've seen him in the Star Wars films, in which I think he is a good actor in the Star Wars films, but I think he was a victim of lazy and bad writing for all three of the sequel trilogies. So I've not seen Marriage Story. I'm sure he's great in it, and I predicted he would win because it was, oh, how should I put this? Because people were saying it was such a good movie, and they like films where the husband is portrayed as the bad character, which is clearly what happens in Marriage Story. Now, as for my dark horse pick, I predicted it was going to be Antonio Banderas because it's Antonio Banderas. He was nominated for a film called Pain and Glory, which is a movie about a struggling artist, I believe specifically a filmmaker. So I thought he would win because Hollywood, again, likes movies that praise them. So I honestly thought that he was going to be the dark horse in this. Like I said, honestly thought Adam Driver had this in the bag. I thought that this was going to be his film. This was going to be his moment to shine. Now, I have a feeling that it's going to be similar to Leonardo DiCaprio because people said he should have won for The Wolf of Wall Street and for Titanic, which I think he lost. He actually might have won for Titanic. I can't remember, but he had been nominated for The Wolf of Wall Street, but he had lost out, and so they gave him Revenant as kind of a consolation prize, even though people were saying he didn't really earn it for Revenant. It was just kind of his time, and I think they're going to do the same thing for Adam Driver. Maybe not next year, but probably the following year. Now that the Star Wars sequel trilogy has passed, he's gonna be popping up in a bunch of other films. He was in a movie, I think called The Report, and it was basically a draft Dianne Feinstein advertisement film. I mean, you can tell that just from the trailer. I mean, it's all about how great Dianne Feinstein. However, I was completely wrong in both of these predictions. I was wrong about Adam Driver and Antonio Banderas. Joaquin Phoenix actually won for the Joker. Good for him. He deserved to win. Now, like I said, I see the Joker as an Elseworld story, so it's not like adapted directly from a comic book storyline. Now, it is a comic book film, and it has a lot of tropes, and I'll have that debate with anyone. Heath Ledger is still the best live-action Joker as far as that goes, but Joaquin Phoenix, he definitely deserved it for this role. He put everything into this role. I mean, anyone who has seen Joker could tell you that he was amazing in it. And I actually said this in my video. I said, out of the picks, he deserves to win. Out of it, Joaquin Phoenix is clearly best actor. Now, we all know the real best actor is Robert Downey Jr. He should have won for Iron Man, he should have won for the first Avengers, and he should have won for Avengers Endgame. I wish Disney had actually wanted to do a lobby, a campaign to promote him for Best Actor. And Robert Downey Jr. is actually the one who said he didn't want that. Why, I don't know. He earned it for those films specifically. But of course, he's just a great actor. He really should have won for The Judge. That was a fantastic film. If you just feel like, Jacob, all you're doing is talk about comic book movies. Okay, fine. He should have won for The Judge. He's a fantastic actor. We all know he was really the winner. But like I said, they gave it to Joaquin Phoenix, and out of that list, he definitely deserved it. I was wrong in my prediction. Like I said, I was going to pick Adam Driver or Antonio Banderas, Antonio Banderas being my dark horse candidate, but I really was surprised that they went with the guy who, out of the list, I said should win. So, like I said, the prediction was wrong, but at least they caught the bug. Best Director. Now, this is one I'm going to preface with, I think Clint Eastwood should have been nominated for Richard Jewell, and he should have won for it. That was a fantastic film. It was a phenomenal film, and he really should have won for this. I've been saying a lot of who I think should have won based on performances and whatnot. I just wanted to bring this up front. Now, as for my predictions, I predicted Martin Scorsese was going to win for The Irishman, even though it's a mediocre, poorly edited, just boring film. But it was nominated, and people talked about how great it was. And Sam Mendes was my dark horse for 1917, and I said this earlier, I feel like these war films, they get their due, especially ones about World War II. But this was a World War I film, and it was shot like one continuous shot. It follows the main protagonist around, and so that is actually very well done. It's hard to do. I believe Alfred Hitchcock's Rope. That was a film with Jimmy Stewart, and it was done in one continuous shot, or made to look like it. You can kind of see where they cut, where they did cut scenes and whatnot. They do clever things like a character will pull out a jacket and it'll cover the camera. And I think in one scene, Jimmy Stewart opens a trunk and the camera zooms in on the trunk and zooms out. So you know that there's a cut there, but still, those types of movies are very intriguing to me. They kind of almost have a voyeuristic feel. I know that's kind of a funny way to put it, but I don't know how else to explain it. I haven't seen 1917, but I thought between those two films, The Irishman, 1917, their directors were going to take home the gold. Boy, was I wrong. Bong Joon-ho won for Best Director for Parasite. Congratulations to him. I am really surprised that he beat out the Hollywood stuffed shirts. I loved Parasite. I have a glowing review of it on my blog. I think it was a phenomenal movie. I think Bong Joon-ho did a great job directing it. Now, I'm not really sure if it was Best Director material. Like I said, I gave you who I think should have won, but congratulations for him. Out of the list, I think that Todd Phillips should have won for Joker. He had been mainly making kind of these raunchy comedies prior to this, so to go from that exchange from just doing these ridiculous silly comedies to now he's doing a serious character study, I think he should have won for that. I think that that was great. Out of the list, I mean, out of the list. But congratulations to Bong Joon-ho. He made a fantastic movie, which I think is great. Again, I'm not really sure it was Best Director material, but good for him. He beat out the Hollywood stuffed shirts. And what's funny is when he won, you could see the fake laughter coming from Martin Scorsese. He did this thing where, like, when you hear one of your colleagues beat you like for a promotion when you know you actually deserved it, and so you just kind of like clap over really loud, like, and over really fast, and you just do this. Like that's what Martin Scorsese was doing. He was also kind of smiling and like kind of laughing. Like you could tell he was trying to say yay, but it was coming out like like just that old man I can't believe I lost laugh. But that was worth it him for Parasite to win, and just to see that look on Martin Scorsese's face was absolutely priceless. I think it's great. He's such now to be clear, I'm not on the bandwagon that says Martin Scorsese is a bad director. I think he's a good director. Even though Silence was an anti-Christian propaganda film, it was still a very well-made movie. Same for a bunch of his other films, The Departed, Taxi Driver. I enjoy those deep, methodical character studies that he does. I do think sometimes he praises villainy and psychopathy a little too much, but I do think that he is a really good director and makes well-made, thought-out films. But this time, he had done all his snooty bragging, and he lost out. I'm going to talk more about this in just a minute, because the big surprise happened when Hanoi Jane announced Best Picture. So what happened when Hanoi Jane announced Best Picture? Parasite won Best Picture. And again, I don't think it was Best Picture material. I've been saying on my blog and on this podcast that Best Picture should have either been Richard Jewell or Avengers Endgame. None of the nominees qualified, especially not The Irishman. Okay, maybe 1917. I'll give 1917 and Ford versus Ferrari a mulligan. I haven't seen those films. I hear they're really good. But The Irishman, Little Women, no one saw these films, no one cared, but Parasite won, and I think it's so delicious. I love it. Bong Joon-ho beat out Martin Scorsese, and I love it. Now, I predicted The Irishman was going to win. 2 hours before, I was arguing with the conservative film buff and Harry Kakatrian on Twitter because I honestly thought that one of those films was going to win, especially The Irishman. Whenever I even reposted my review of The Irishman and even said congratulations to Martin Scorsese, and because I just thought he had it in the bag. I was way off. It was even better. Parasite beat out that stuffed shirt Hollywood elitist who doesn't get that people like other films, who mocked his colleagues, who called their films carnivals and theme parks and all this nonsense. And then when people reacted to it, he got backlash. He wrote a Cry Me a River article in the New York Times, and people were talking, all the people who believe in the stuffed shirt Hollywood elitism, even friends of mine. I was called objectively silly by someone who will remain nameless because I said that The Irishman was one of the worst films of the year. I think I made it number 8 on my list, and now he loses to Parasite. I love this. And like I said, I don't think Parasite was the best picture. I don't think it even should have been on the list. I would have replaced it with Avengers Endgame or Richard Jewell. Those were the real best pictures. Heck, Standoff at Sparrow Creek by Cinestate was a better film than most of the best picture nominees. That's just a fact. But Martin Scorsese losing, and I've never been so happy to be wrong about something. I love it so much. That stuffed shirt elitist got what it was coming to him. Take that. It would have been even better if Avengers Endgame had beaten him. That would have been fantastic. That would have been even delicious. Mwah! I would have loved that so much. Alas, that's not what happened. But I've never been so happy to be wrong about a Best Picture pick. Like I said, I was way off. I was talking about this on Twitter and on other social media sites last several days about how Martin Scorsese was going to win. It was his turn, and all this other stuff. And I was wrong. I honestly thought Hollywood was going to give it to him. And like I said, 1917 was my dark horse. I never thought Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was going to win. Quentin Tarantino, everyone talks about how original he is, about how he's a great filmmaker. I actually don't think he's that good of a filmmaker. I saw Pulp Fiction. Now, granted, I was a little drunk when I watched it, but I did not get the appeal. I thought it was highly overrated. Oh, it's out of sequence. Big deal. The only sequence that was that was worth watching at all was the Bruce Willis sequence. The rest of the film is, I think, not what people think it is. But anyway, Best Picture goes to Parasite. Never been more happy to be wrong. I want to talk about the one that I got right. So 1 out of 5, that's not too bad, right? Okay, it's pretty bad. But anyway, the one I did get right was Best Animated Feature Film. Toy Story 4 won. And I Lost My Body, the French 2D animated film, that was my dark horse pick. I honestly thought that Toy Story 4 was going to win. The Academy loves Pixar films, even after Disney bought them out. Pixar films have gotten a ton of praise. Now, that's not always true. Sometimes they lose out. Like, they lost out to Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. They've lost out a couple of times before. But I was suspicious that since Pixar hadn't won in a while, that they were going to kind of give a nod to Toy Story 4. And I was right about this. This was the one prediction I got correct. The reason I thought I Lost My Body might be the dark horse candidate was because for some reason Hollywood likes French movies. I find them incredibly dreary. I find the humor stale. I find the characters very niche and cliche, but not to use French words, of course. But they love French films for some reason. I actually think French films and European cinema in general is not as good as Americans claim it is, especially American film buffs. I don't think that they're that good. But anyway, I haven't seen I Lost My Body, I'll be honest. So maybe it is good. This year, I'll be honest, it was tough because you've got a really great Pixar film in Toy Story 4, and you also had How to Train Your Dragon, The Hidden World nominated, Klaus was nominated. So a really good plethora of animated films that definitely deserve to be nominated. But I kind of knew Toy Story 4 was going to take home the gold. Which one should have won? In my opinion, it was Klaus. It was made by Sergio Pablo, I think his name was, and it was a really good movie. I really enjoyed it. The animation in it is just fantastic. Yes, I'm right. Sergio Pablos. Sorry, I had to look that up because that was literally driving me crazy what his name was. It was a really great film. I thought that he did a really good job on it, really good job with the animation. The story was fantastic, but he definitely made Klaus, which was just an incredible animated feature film. This is my humble opinion. I really think that it should have won. It just the animation techniques in it were something you haven't seen in a while. It was very similar to Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse with how the animation was done. It was unique, it was original, and I really wish 2D animation would make a little bit of a comeback. I'm kind of tired of the CGI stuff, but Warner Brothers Animation is still making 2D animated films. They're kind of moving more toward an anime style as far as their techniques, but who knows? We'll have to wait and see. Anyway, that's all the time I have for today. Be sure to once again like this video, share it out whether you're on YouTube and Facebook. Follow me on both those pages. YouTube, of course, is StudioJake. Facebook is author Jacob Airy. You can find me on Twitter at RealJacobAiry. Instagram is at RealJacobAiry. You can find my blog, which is jacobairy.blog, JACOBAIREY.blog. You can find me there. I have even more film reviews. I have all kinds of commentary. I talk about comic books, novels, anime, television. I mean, the whole nine yards. So definitely head over and check out there. Also, Valentine's Day is coming up. Do you know what to get your boo? What if she's a bookworm? What if he's a bookworm? What are you going to get them? Get them my novel, The Seven Royals, All Good Things. It's fun for adults, it's fun for teenagers, and it's fun for elementary school. I made sure that everyone can enjoy this book. Be sure to pick it up. You can get it on Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, Walmart.com. You can download it off Apple Books, or if you're in Rakuten, you can get it from Kobo. What really helps me if you buy it directly from my publisher, which is booklocker.com. So head to any of those places, search for my name, or search for The Seven Royals, All Good Things, a fantasy adventure about 7 of your favorite fairy tale characters going on a quest to save their homeland from the evil wizard Fabius Thorn and an emperor he's manipulating by the name of Midas, who can turn people to gold with a touch. So head over to any of those sources, pick yourself up a copy, and I'll see you next time right here on Studio Jake.